If you want to lose 10 to 15 pounds before the summer starts, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to stop doing and what you need to start doing. Because I have lost 70 pounds and more importantly, I have been able to keep it off for about a year and a half at this point. I have done this without tracking every calorie. I have done this without overcomplicating things and spending hours in the gym. And if I had to do it all over again in only a few weeks to summer, I would not do more. I would actually do less. So here's what you need to understand before we even hop into today's video. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to keep starting over. And you definitely don't need to punish yourself into some smaller body in the next 6 weeks. You need to stop doing what is quietly keeping you stuck every single day. And that's exactly what I'm going to be breaking down in today's video. So we're talking food, we're talking movement, we're talking environment. And I also have one more thing for you guys at the end of the video. It actually has nothing to do with food, movement, or even weight loss in general, but honestly, y'all, it controls everything that's gonna happen in this journey for you to actually be the hottest, healthiest version of yourself this summer. So this reason alone is probably one of the reasons that you're actually stuck, for real. So here's the thing. We cannot keep doing all of this stopping and starting over. Weight loss is a way of life. Your journey to become the healthiest, hottest version of yourself requires consistent behavior from you. So you cannot keep allowing the weekend to ruin your week's worth of good progress. It will literally go down the drain because calories add up so fast. One crazy weekend ruins the progress that you worked hard for all freaking week. So here's the thing. We got 6 weeks until the first day of summer. So I'm not asking for 6 perfect weeks from you. I'm asking you guys to give me 6 consistent weeks because that's all it really takes is consistency. Anything in life. Consistency is key. We hear it all the time. It might sound cliche, but it's the truth. One identity shift that I need you guys to make here is you need to stop being the girl who keeps starting over. You are the girl who simply just continues. If you have a little bit of fun, you're back to your regular scheduled program the next day. If you have a little bit of fun at lunch, you're back to your regular scheduled program at dinner. We do not have time for all of this play stuff. Like, I'm being so real with you guys right now. Just get back on track. We don't need to have this whole temper tantrum because you had fun for one meal. Don't let one bad meal turn into a weekend or a week of just doing the same thing over and over again because honestly and truly, it does add up. This point was actually one of the game changers for me, and that was I had to stop overcomplicating the food piece. I just feel like in a society, we're obsessed with food. TikTok, we're obsessed with food. YouTube, we're obsessed with food. Food will literally stop us from scrolling because we're like, oh, that looks good. We're sending recipes. And it's like we have gotten to the point to where we are just overcomplicating what we eat. We don't need to have these fun, crazy, extravagant recipes every night of the week because in reality, you're overcomplicating the process for you. You're probably eating too much of it and you're having to buy too much stuff. You're adding too many ingredients and the ingredients that you're adding might not even be beneficial for your weight loss journey. So something that I had to really figure out was I had to just get to the basics. My formula for every meal is protein, veggie, carb. That's for every single meal. Sometimes lunch I might eat out because I'm usually at work. If I don't want to take something to lunch, I just eat something at work. But I still make sure I grab, some sort of protein, veggie, or carb or whatnot, because at the end of the day, you need your protein. At the end of the day, you actually need your carb. I know, contrary to what people may think, carbs give you so much fuel and energy to actually just go, period. So you need your carbs. So don't try to do these extreme low carb diets either. And then having a veggie or a fruit or some sort gives you those micronutrients that your body needs and probably gets missed a lot of times because you might be eating a lot, more processed foods. Even though it might be healthy, having those fruits and veggies in your diet helps fill the gaps for those micronutrients. I feel like I'm a person who doesn't necessarily like to eat the same thing every day. So I'm not a person who benefits from like meal prep, but I'm a person who knows, all right, when we go to the grocery store this week, we're getting 3 proteins. We're going to get some chicken, we're going to get some beef, and we're going to get maybe a salmon or something like that. Making sure I have my 3 staples for the week. I'm going to have leftovers maybe for one day because something is wrong with me up here. I can't eat leftovers all week. It's just not me. So I make sure I have protein. I make sure I have a few veggies that I can cook with said protein, and I have carbs. I have rice. I have sweet potatoes. I have a potato. That is exactly how I grocery shop. If I want to have some sort of snacks, I'll do some yogurt. I typically like to do a prepackaged yogurt because I don't know. Greek yogurt kind of freaks me out. So if I buy a big tub, I probably won't eat it all. But if I have a single serving, I force myself to eat that single serving. And the great thing about Greek yogurt is it has fat. It also has protein. So there you go. You just got to be more smart and more balanced about the things that you pick when you're at the grocery store. Literally cannot overcomplicate this process. And the best way that you can actually do that is just shop the perimeter of the store to get your groceries, especially within these 6 weeks that you're trying to get right for the summer. So I need you guys to really adopt the mindset of food is fuel. It's not an event, because if you make food the main event, you're going to overeat every time. And I know it sounds crazy to say out loud, but there is so much more to life than food. I know food is good. Trust me, I have been overweight my whole entire life, so I know food is good. But I think with me being overweight for so long, I know I've had enough good food in life to know that I need to get back to the basics, and I need to create some consistency in my life and not overcomplicate the food piece. This next piece is a little bit controversial. It's going to be controversial on my end only because I'm a short girl. If you're not a short girl, yours might look a little bit different than me. But if you are short, and I'm talking maybe 5'3" and under, listen to me loud and clearly here. So this calorie deficit piece had me stuck for years. I have been in a place where I worked out with trainers, I've got coaches, I've consulted with nutritionists, and they have always told me 1,200 calories is not enough food. You need to make sure that you are fueling your body. And especially if you get on the internet, don't let the internet coaches hear you say anything about a 1,200 calorie, anything about a 1,300 calorie, anything about a 1,400 calorie, because they're going to have some comments for you. But like I said, this piece right here I'm talking to is for the short girls. If you are short, you do not need that many calories, because at the end of the day, your body burns calories much slower and less than an average height person. And in reality, if you're overeating and you're short, you're going to be more susceptible to gaining weight much quicker, because I can look at food and will gain weight. So I had to really be diligent about my calorie deficit and knowing what I need to do for my body. So I do think it's important to figure out your calorie deficit. If you guys want to know exactly what your calorie deficit is, I do have a video on it. It's a little bit old, so I might do an updated video on how to find your calorie deficit. Matter of fact, how to know how many calories you need to be eating, how many calories you need to be burning to get to a certain weight by a certain date. Let me know. If you guys want to see that video, let me know, because I have a little hack for that as well too. But figure out what your calorie deficit is, and then figure out how you are going to go about tracking your calories. Now, I know tracking can seem like, oh, it's another task that you have to do, but you just need to track long enough to train your eye, train your hand, and to know what your portions is. So it might only take maybe a month or two of tracking for you to figure it out, but get you a food scale. I will link the food scale that I had in the beginning down in the description. I got it from Amazon, and the great thing about this food scale, it also is the same brand as my scale that I step on for my weight. So all of the info is in the same app. So therefore, I know how much weight I'm losing. It knows what I've been eating, and it helps me plan better for my meals. So getting a food scale can be a game changer in the beginning, because you definitely need to know the actual portions, because sometimes we just get a big bag of something and we're like, oh, this looks like a portion, and it's probably 4. So get you a food scale and track your calories. This one, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of struggled with initially because I just thought I am not gonna be that walking girl. I'm gonna be a gym girly. I am gonna go in there and lift weights, and walking isn't gonna do anything for me. I'm gonna work hard. I'm gonna have high intensity workouts. But the crazy thing is, the moment I incorporated walking into my regimen instead of like overdoing it, the weight started falling off, y'all. And I know we see this number of like, get your 10K steps, get your 10K steps, but I do think you have to adjust that for your lifestyle. 10K steps, it was okay, but I think 15K steps was a much better targeted goal for me to see the kind of results that I was seeing. And I think it's important that you track your steps. Your phone, I think, lightly tracks them, but if you want to truly know your steps, I would suggest getting some sort of like step tracker. I will link one below that you can get cheap from Amazon. If you have an Apple Watch, mine is on the charger. If you have an Apple Watch, you have a fitness ring, just make sure you're being mindful of your steps. If you don't get enough steps throughout the day, maybe after dinner you go for a stroll through your neighborhood or you get on your walking path. Make sure you are moving your body. Now, this point, it's going to hurt some of you. It's going to hurt. It's going to sting. It's going to cut. But you have to cut those portion sizes ASAP. So something that I didn't realize, and I actually used to see this a lot online, but people would be like, oh, I can eat whatever I want and not gain weight, because a lot of them were probably eating, the correct portions for themselves. And I'm like, that's just too good to be true, because I will find myself, all right, I'm eating healthy all throughout the week, and then I will go have something fun. And I'm just like, what is this thing moderation? Because I feel like I'm doing moderation and it's still not working. And it's not necessarily the moderation thing. It was the portions. You got to figure out the portions, because in reality, America, they just feed us too much food. Too much food. So something that I do, and this sounds very extreme, I order kids meals, especially if I'm going to get fast food. That is probably more accurate to the serving size that you actually need, because if you think about it, I was an overweight child and I was eating Happy Meals. So it was probably too much food for me then, but now it's an appropriate portion for me now, because I can eat a kids meal and I don't have any issues. I'm not gaining weight from one kids meal, versus if I go have an adult meal, the scale is going to start trickling up if I continue to do that same thing over and over and over again, because it's way too much food for me, if you get what I'm saying. So something I also do now is I actually split a lot of meals with my husband. And if I was to think back to me, like when we first started dating or anything, I am not a sharer, and I for sure hate sharing my food. And not sharing my food was keeping me overweight. I'm not gonna hold you up. So something that I would do, I would get a salad and then I would get fries. And just because I was getting a side of fries doesn't necessarily mean it was one serving of fries. It probably was a side of fries that could feed 2 or 3 people, and I would eat it all to myself and I wouldn't share with him. I just hate sharing my food, and I had this attitude about me, like, I don't want to share my food. I'm the oldest child, and that was holding me back to a detriment. So now we actually share a lot of food. If we go out to eat, we share appetizers, and that's our like meal. Because when you think about it, an appetizer is 1,000 calories. Sometimes people order an appetizer, eat it by themselves, and then go on and eat an entree. And the entree is probably close to 2,000 calories. The stuff adds up so quick, and you're just like, well, I thought what I had at the restaurant was healthy. And it might be healthy. It might just be too much portion-wise for you. So example, we actually went to this restaurant called Uncle Julio's last weekend, and we split a fajita plate. It was steak and chicken, and they brought out a small portion of rice and beans, and we ate it together. We ate some at the restaurant, and we ate some the next day. So therefore, there was more than enough food. So we have to stop thinking that we're gonna run out of food, because you're not, baby. You gotta cut those portions in half. At least start with just cutting them in half. You might need to cut it and only eat 1/4 of the portion, because when I tell you, it adds up and it makes a difference. But if you learn to cut the portions early in the beginning, you will realize that you can still have a lot of your favorite treats and stuff. It's not necessarily like a crazy unhealthy thing or a crazy calorie thing. It's a crazy amount of food thing, and we're just eating too much. Learning to stop eating when I am full, learning to find out what my hunger cues was, because I was a person who ate till I was quite literally stuffed, to where I was just uncomfortable, had to unbutton my pants. I would just feel like, oh, maybe I feel like I have to throw up, and I'm not saying I would, but I would eat to the point to where it was just like, I am full. I think the portion piece, if you have the portions in control, you won't overeat, but learning to eat to a place of, oh, I'm just satisfied, that helps you so much. So even if you're thinking like, all right, I'm about to go out to eat, ask for a box ahead of time and box up at least half of the food so you don't overeat while you're sitting there. But that leads me into my next thing when it comes to the whole thing about taking takeout food home. I don't know about y'all, but the moment I would bring some takeout home, I would be thinking about it the moment I step in the door, and I would end up eating my takeout that same night instead of saving it and saving the calories for the next day, and then be wondering why I can't lose weight. It either goes in the trash or it goes in your body, and which one is going to be more beneficial for where you are today? You gotta fix your environment. You have to set yourself up for the ultimate success, especially with us only having 6 weeks till the summertime. You gotta make sure you are running a strict program right now. This is the first thing that you're gonna do. If you are a DoorDash girly, delete the app. If you're an Uber Eats girly, delete the app. That is making food and junk food more accessible to you, to where it's gonna make it more easier for you to, up pretty much. And that's not what we need right now in this season. I also think it's important not to bring foods that are easily bingeable to you into your house. It's just like, don't bring that kind of stuff in your house. And if you absolutely have to have a little snack in the house, just make sure it's pre-portioned for your one serving that you need. And even still, you have to have some sort of self-control to not go for seconds just because it's a single serving. So some people might buy the single serving bags of chips or cookies and stuff like that, but they still will go in and eat, more than one. So that's why I say don't necessarily have it in the house if you don't have control. Because for me, I didn't have control. So guess what? That stuff is not in my house. I prefer to enjoy foods like that outside of the house. Even if it's more than the serving that I should have, I can just throw it away. Or if I have it outside the house, when I get home, I'm in better preparation to just get back onto my regular schedule program. You have to truly learn to make junk food almost inconvenient for yourself. For me, if I have to get up to go get the junk food, it might make you think twice, like maybe I don't need this. It should run some thoughts to your brain. I don't need this. Or that's where you train your brain to have an action plan, have notes in your car, have notes on the refrigerator to train your mind. Hey, you're not even probably hungry. You're probably just thirsty for real, for real. You have to make it inconvenient. You have to remove the option for it being an option for you. I'm gonna need you all to learn that this is a season to where you are going to have to run a strict program. And I said this is a season because if you're watching this video, more than likely you're trying to lose a few pounds before summer. If not, you don't have to be this strict, but in a season to where you have a time constraint when it comes to weight loss, you got to do what you got to do. You can't lean into feelings and all of this other stuff. And this also will help train you to create the habits of someone who actually wants to be healthy, someone who actually wants to feel good in her skin. So being strict on the front end allows you to create the discipline and the habits you need to sustain this choice that you are making. So that might look like a phase of, oh, we're not doing takeout, we're only cooking at home. And I think it's best to cook at home because you are in control of the other little things that go into the meal that might cause you to be bloated, that might cause you to have inflammation. Just oil alone is 200 calories for 2 tablespoons or something crazy. So get in control of the things that you can control. And food is one of those things that you can really lock in and control. And honestly, it's one of the biggest pieces to seeing and achieving the results that you want. I want you guys to really leave with this strategy for learning how to eat. Learn your portions. Learn how to eat lighter because 9 times out of 10, you're just eating too much and that's really just the problem. 2, I want you guys to be able to go out and enjoy, your favorite foods without guilt, but let that just be one meal and just get back to your regular schedule program for the next meal. Whether that be if you had a fun breakfast, make sure lunch and dinner is on point and make sure you're still working out, still having your water as well that same day. But let's talk about an identity shift that you have to make in order to see success in these next 6 weeks. And even if you want to just have this for life in general, you still need to make this identity shift in order to actually lose the weight and sustain the weight or get fit or whatever you want to categorize this as. Everything I told you today, all the tips that you should start, all the things that you should stop, those things work. But making the identity shift is going to make it all come together. The thing is, like the food, it comes from just like coping throughout life, stress, emotional, celebrations. You have to learn to make a shift of, is my healthiest version of myself gonna eat that? Does my healthiest version of myself work out like that? Really get deep down and think about the mindset piece of it. Thinking about the identity piece of it. Who do you want to be in these next 6 weeks? Who do you want to be beyond these next 6 weeks? Your body truly holds what your mind carries. So if you think like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to lose this weight, I'm going to be uncomfortable all summer, guarantee you that's what you're going to manifest. So start to really do that mind work and just say, you know what, I'm about to get healthy in these next 6 weeks. I'm about to create better habits for myself. I'm about to lose a few pounds in these next 6 weeks, and I'm going to feel a little bit more comfortable in my skin this summer. I'm going to feel a little bit more comfortable in my skin moving forward because I am going to adopt a new mindset, a new identity about a person who is healthy, a person who is consistent, a person who makes decisions based on the healthiest version of myself. And the moment you start to act as if and really show up as that, it's going to find you anyway, because this is one of those situations where it's actually tangible. People talk about like manifesting and getting in vibration and getting into the frequency of the things that you want and act as if. It is easy to act as if a healthy person because all you have to do is change what you do. And it's easy to change what you do when it comes to being healthy. You figure out your deficit. You figure out the healthy meals that you're going to eat. You shop the perimeter of the store. You begin to do workouts that benefit you and sustain your weight loss. But this is one of the easiest things to manifest because the actions that follow it, like you have true, tangible actions that I just gave you guys throughout this video for you to follow and begin to act as if you are the healthiest, hottest version of yourself. I know we're 6 weeks to summer. You don't need more time. You just need a different approach. You just needed to hear the things that you need to do and the things that you don't need to do and lock in. I just want to end on, you guys have time before the summer actually starts, but you cannot keep restarting over and over again, but you have to make the decision today. I want you guys to let me know down in the comments below some things that you are going to be changing for this upcoming season for yourself, whether this be just getting tight for the summer or whether this just being a lifestyle change that you are ready to make. Share this with someone who might actually need it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And let's get ready to tighten up for the summer.